The war between the Terran Union and the Varine Dominion had stretched across 5 star systems in nearly 9 years. Most soldiers on both sides had forgotten the reasons it even began. Only one truth remained. They fought because they were told to. They fought because every day without conflict felt like a lie after so many years of battle. Across this vast arena of drifting, hulls and broken satellites, a young Terran officer named Rian served aboard the patrol vessel Arcline. He was calm by nature and sharper than most. Many among the crew admired how he could stay collected under pressure. His calmness was not coldness. It came from a belief that fear wasted time. Rian had lived much of his life studying patterns, watching how people behaved, and learning to guide tense situations toward safer paths. The Arcline received routine scanning duties near the border zones. Most days were quiet. Some days were not. On one particular shift, an emergency signal pierced the calm. It was faint, cracked by interference, and carried a tone unfamiliar to Terran frequencies. The signal repeated a small set of coordinates, followed by a short message. The translation system struggled, but it managed to capture a few words. Survivor. Injured. Need. Help. The captain ordered the Arcline to approach with caution. Every crew member wondered if it was a trap. The Varine Dominion had used false transmissions before. Yet as they neared the coordinates, the sensors captured a single escape pod tumbling through debris. No weapons. No heat trace besides a barely active life support module. Rian volunteered to lead the retrieval team. He secured himself in a small shuttle and drifted toward the escape pod. Once he connected the docking clamp and forced open the pod door, he found a young Varine girl inside. Her skin had the faint blue shimmer common to her people, and her breathing was shallow. She was no more than 10. Her eyes fluttered open as the shuttle lights touched her face. She looked frightened, but when she focused on Rian, she exhaled as if relieved. She spoke in a trembling voice, a dialect the translator struggled with, yet the meaning became clear. She said she had been aboard a civilian science vessel hit by crossfire. Her pod had launched without guidance when the main systems collapsed. Rian checked her pulse and ensured her oxygen mask stayed secure. He told her he would not harm her. His voice carried a steady confidence that eased her fear. By the time they returned to the Arcline, she was awake enough to sit up and look around with curiosity instead of dread. The crew placed her in the medbay. Rian stayed nearby while the medical officer scanned her injuries. She had a fractured wrist, some mild radiation exposure, and signs of exhaustion. Nothing life-threatening if treated in time. Once she rested, she held onto Rian's sleeve as if afraid he might vanish. He knelt beside her and introduced himself with a gentle tone. She told him her name was Lena. Her voice had a soft musical quality, common among Varine youth. Though the war had hardened many Terrans, the presence of a child shifted something in the crew. She was no soldier, no threat. She was simply someone who needed protection. The Arcline sent a message to both sides through neutral channels, reporting the rescue. They expected silence or accusations. Instead, the Varine Dominion replied within an hour. Their message contained relief and urgency. Lena was the daughter of a respected Varine leader named Mira. Mira commanded a peace faction within the Dominion. She had spent years trying to halt the war, often at great personal risk. Many had ignored her efforts. Others had mocked her hope for Harmony Dot. When the Arcline received this information, the captain grew tense. Returning Lena might be seen as a diplomatic gesture. It might also spark complications if any side misinterpreted the act. Rian listened to the discussion and finally volunteered again. If a representative was needed to deliver the child, he believed he should be the one. He had saved her. She trusted him. The captain agreed. A neutral transfer point was chosen. Rian boarded a small transport with Lena and 2 other crew members. The flight was silent at first. Lena looked nervous again, perhaps uncertain about returning after such a frightening experience. Rian spoke calmly, telling her that her mother was waiting and she would be safe. His voice steadied her once more. She leaned closer to him and held his hand while the stars drifted past. When they reached the station, Varine envoys met them. Their attire carried elegant patterns of silver threads that shimmered like distant starlight. Behind them stood Myra herself. Her presence was striking. She carried the posture of someone who had seen enough grief to harden her heart, yet she kept compassion alive through force of will. Her eyes widened when she saw Lena. The child ran into her arms, and Myra held her as though she never wanted to release her again, not after long moments of relief. Myra turned toward Rian. She stepped forward with grace. Her gaze filled with gratitude, deep enough to shake any hardened soldier. She placed a hand on her chest in the Varine gesture of honor. She told him he had done more than save a life. He had prevented the collapse of her spirit. Without her daughter, she would have lost the last anchor she had to hope. Rian simply nodded and said he had done what anyone should do. Myra disagreed. She insisted many would not have risked it. Many would have questioned, hesitated, or walked away. But he did not. He stepped forward without knowing who the child belonged to. The neutral envoys completed the official transfer, but Myra did not leave immediately. She studied Rian with a quiet intensity. It was not romantic in a reckless way. It was something deeper, formed from respect that bordered on devotion. She said that if the universe granted her the chance, she would seek him again. She believed someone like him could help rebuild what war had taken. Her words were soft, yet carried the weight of true conviction. When Rian returned to the arc line, the crew teased him lightly. They had noticed Mira's gaze. They joked that he had charmed an enemy leader. Rian brushed it off. He saw her reaction as natural gratitude. Yet something inside him felt pulled toward her, not because of charm or flattery, but because her voice carried the rare tone of someone sincere in every word. As days passed, the war did not calm. More skirmishes erupted. Reports said Myra advocated for a ceasefire, using the rescue of her daughter as proof that Terrans could act with compassion. However, many Dominion commanders rejected her view. Some feared peace. Others believed showing vulnerability would weaken them. Then, one day, while the arc line was scanning nearby sectors, a message arrived. It was a private transmission, encrypted to prevent interception. The sender was Myra. She requested a meeting with Rian alone aboard another neutral outpost. She said she had urgent information that could affect the war's outcome. The captain hesitated, but trusted Rian's judgment. Rian took a shuttle to the outpost. When he arrived, he found Myra waiting in a quiet chamber lit with soft blue lights. She greeted him warmly. The warmth was different this time. It held familiarity and something unspoken. She explained that a faction within her government planned to escalate the conflict with a dangerous new weapon. It could destabilize entire planetary shields. She had no authority to stop them, but she believed if Terrans learned about it early, they could prepare a countermeasure or even use this moment to push for peace through negotiation rather than retaliation. Rian listened carefully. Her courage impressed him. She risked her position and possibly her life by sharing this intelligence. She said she was not doing this because she sided with the Terrans. She was doing it because she believed no child, Varine or Terran, should grow up in a galaxy shaped by endless fear. Rian thanked her and promised he would deliver the information. Myra stepped closer. Her voice softened. She admitted something she had been holding back. Rian had not only saved her daughter, he had restored her faith in others. She said there were moments since the rescue when she found herself thinking of him. Not as an enemy soldier, not as a symbol, as a person whose bravery echoed in her thoughts. Rian stood silent for a moment, steady yet moved. He respected her deeply. He admired her resolve. He told her he valued her honesty and felt a connection to her as well. They stood close in the quiet chamber, the air thick with meaning, but not rushed by desire. It was the start of trust rather than the pull of impulse. Before parting, Mira placed her hand gently on his forearm and told him she wished peace for him, for her people, and for their children. She told him that if peace ever came, she hoped their paths would meet again in a world no longer shaped by war. Rian returned to the Phi Arc-line with the gathered intelligence. His superiors verified the data. It proved accurate and alarming. Terran leaders debated how to act. Some wanted a preemptive strike. Others saw this as a chance to open discussions before the weapon could be deployed. News spread quietly across both sides. The diplomatic channels were being tested again. The process was slow and filled with doubt. Neither side trusted the other. Yet Mira continued pushing her message inside the Dominion. Rian pushed his own side to consider negotiation. Their voices carried weight, not because they were powerful individually, but because they spoke from a place of truth. Months passed. Small agreements formed. Prisoner exchanges increased. Hostile incidents decreased. Lena sent occasional messages to the Arc-line. She thanked Rian for saving her and showed drawings of stars, ships, and peaceful scenes she wished to see one day. These drawings were simple but powerful reminders of what the galaxy could become. Finally, after long negotiations, both sides signed a ceasefire. The war did not end instantly, but the foundations for peace began. The border zones calmed. Patrols reduced their weapons charge levels. More people could sleep without fear. When peace talks expanded further, Mira traveled to a joint conference. She represented the Vareen faction seeking unity. Rian attended as a Terran advisor. When they met again, the room fell quiet for a moment. Their connection was no longer hidden. It was visible in the way they looked at each other. They walked together during breaks and discussed hopes rather than strategies. Rian admired how Mira carried herself. She admired how he stood for honor without seeking reward. Their bond grew through steady conversations and shared visions rather than dramatic gestures. They spoke often of Lena's future. They imagined a time when Terran and Vareen children could study in the same halls, explore the same stars, and speak without fear of conflict. As peace solidified, their relationship deepened. Mira told him she desired him not out of impulse or gratitude, but because she saw a future with him. A future built on trust, respect, and the courage to rebuild broken worlds. Rian felt the same. He cared not for her rank or status. He cared for the truth in her eyes. One evening, as the conference reached its final stage, they stood on a balcony overlooking a calm nebula. The colors shimmered like soft waves of light. Rian told her he believed the galaxy could heal. Mira nodded and said healing always began with one brave act. His act, Rian shook his head. He said the true healing came from what she did afterward. She believed in unity, even when surrounded by those who rejected it. Mira smiled and stepped closer. She said they both held pieces of the truth. Without him, she would have lost hope. Without her, he would have seen no path forward. Their hands met. No words were needed. The stars around them glowed in quiet celebration. The war had shaped them, but peace allowed them to rise beyond it. Rian saved a child. Mira saved a future. Together, they built something stronger than borders and deeper than fear. In a galaxy desperate for light, their bond became a flame that never dimmed, and so their story spread through both nations. A Terran officer who saved an enemy child. a Varine leader who trusted him enough to risk everything. Together they proved that even in the coldness of space, humanity could shine brighter than any starred out piece. Began with a single act of kindness. Love began with the courage to see beyond old wounds. And the galaxy, once fractured, found a new dawn.